Yes, sir. October. Happy October, Rob.
Happy October, brother.
Happy October. Good to see you. Good to see you.
It's good to be home.
Is it?
Quite the Asian tour. Say that. 26-hour travel yesterday. Just running on pure good vibes and green candles.
Good vibes and green candles. Arthur Hayes said he was like at a dinner with Naval, and Naval said to buy Zcash, so he bought a bunch of Zcash, and now it's up a ton. I don't know why people were excited about Zcash, because it's privacy and people are stoked on it now. It's kind of interesting. Leo, let's get some music going, brother. Brother. And yeah, Rob, welcome back, dude.
Thank you, brother. Feels good. I know there's tons of tons of action still happening in Singapore, but as you probably saw, we got in, took care of business, and got out.
Yeah. You guys did indeed. You did indeed. I'm on the base app, guys. I'm fucking around trying to see. I'm trying to control the stream. Looks like I got some funding from somebody or something. I'm not exactly sure what that means. But let me pull up the stream and make sure we're ripping there. And then we got to make sure that it's live. We got a new updated plugin. Okay, looks good to me.
Look at that. Control the stream, featured app on base.
Yep. It is. Well, guys, today we have 𝘗𝘗𝘓𝗏 from 𝘗𝘪𝘴𝘬. I'm going to go ahead and play the chat, or play what I see in the in their mainnet announcement. Shout out to brother Victor Uptober GM brother, GM. If you guys are in the YouTube chat, we are active in reading the chat. Shout out to you guys. It's 𝘗𝘪 mainnet day. I'm gonna link that up, throw that thing on the screen here in a sec. So Leo, get ready for that one. And yeah, we can talk about 𝘗𝘪 before Austin comes on. I think he's basically ready to come on in five-ish minutes. So pulling this up now. One sec, guys. A new, faster internet is here. Sounds bullish, huh?
Austin is literally rebuilding the internet from the ground up. Pretty
Is that
insane.
right? Is that right, Rob?
How familiar are you with 𝘗𝘪𝘴?
All right. Here we go. Leo, let's throw the screen up. Do you know anything about that? What about this internet thing, baby? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No more congestion, baby. Fuck your congestion. Bang. Wow, this is electric, dude. What a video.
I love DPIN. I love when these guys start building hardware, actual building atoms and shit.
Wow, absolutely electric. Absolutely electric. Super dope. Super cool. Yeah, Leo, you can pull us back, man. At the end of the videos, you can just throw us back, get that scene back in the preview. It's like we're training full time here. Real time here. Vibes are up. Yeah, so that's 𝘗𝘪𝘴𝘬. There's a couple other sick videos that I wanted to pull up, but what was your take about that video? I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, I think once again, like, this is the nature of crypto in the modern era. In 2025, we have institutional capital. We also have institutional grade founders. And I think the thesis about higher quality founders coming on into the scene as TradFi and DeFi integrate to just being finance, we're going to ultimately see a lot of founders rise to the top. They're going to be associated with this industry because the entire world is associated with this industry. Every company is an AI company. Every company is a crypto company. And so when you see a teams rebuilding the internet hardware and infrastructure from the ground up, of course, they're using tokens to coordinate their economic systems.
Well, our boy Austin is doing the podcast tour today, so nothing special for you, Rob. Sorry about that. Maybe we'll get him next time.
No?
Top G's. What up, Jordan Jackson? What's good, brah? GM R3, GM, brother. What's going on? What is good? What is good? What is good? Nah, bro, I'm just messing with you, bro. I want to show you guys what I'm doing on 𝘗𝘁, which is sick. I got my other laptop here. I'm gonna pull that up, but let me show you guys what's going on 𝘗𝘁 for a second here. Actually, I might need to set up something different, but yeah, I've been betting on basically 𝘗𝘁 or Bitcoin hitting new highs. Is like been my bet. I did one that it's gonna hit 125K before November, and then I did one that was like it's gonna hit over 150K before March of next year. So the odds were pretty good too, Rob.
I mean, look, prediction markets are the largest asset class that is still yet to be discovered.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Derivatives account for trillions of dollars in volume.
Here, look, instead of doing all that, I'm just going to share my screen and show you guys what I've been doing. So we'll just pull that up and you can see this up in a sec. Let me know when you can see, and I'll just show you what I was doing. So basically I was looking at Bitcoin on 𝘗𝘁 and trying to figure out the best way to allocate to Bitcoin and thinking about it. Can we get it up on the screen, please? I've got. Okay. Will you let me know? Try now. I'm gonna have to refresh up back there. But anyway, the deal was just when will Bitcoin hit 125K? And I have it as, come on, let's go, guys. Yeah, we got to tell old boy Marcelo that it's a little slow to pull up there. Yeah, so I have this here for when will Bitcoin hit 150K. I've got it as it'll hit in before March 2026 for 46%. So I more than doubled up on that if that hits. And then I also took this one, will Bitcoin hit 125K before November at 60%? So a little bit worse odds, but to me, it's kind of obvious that it's going to hit.
That's such a shorter timeline. I mean, there's so much room between November 25 and March 26.
No, I know. But it's 125K and it's 150K, and Bitcoin's at
I think it's
19.7 right now.
I think especially that the one for the 150 by March of 26, if you're putting 125 at a 60% chance, I mean, then 150 by March of next year seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's bullish.
And the fact that it's not higher makes me think that people are pricing in a Q1 dump. That seems to be consensus right now is Q4.
Yeah.
We go higher, Q1, pull back.
I mean, Bitcoin's at 119 right now. Looks pretty incredible. So anyway, this is what I was thinking about, doing. Also, I thought this chart was pretty insane. Just the amount of growth that's been happening has been pretty insane. Yeah, I mean, look at that. I mean, 𝘗𝘁's obviously gone through these ups and downs, but it's just like this incredible rise here. So pretty stoked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's 𝘗𝘁 in the green.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's with these peaks? This is on a weekly basis? This is going back to the beginning of the month?
Some of amount traded per day. It's like, I think it's NFL Sundays, bro.
Gotta be, right? It's gotta be the weekends.
I think it's what it is, dude.
And so 𝘗𝘯𝘕's getting a lot of their volume from sports betting? Seems like it.
Yeah, basically. That, and I looked at the top markets by open interest. It's like sports betting, politics, and like the government. I think the government shutdown thing had a lot of open interest.
I think Jordan Jackson's right. 𝘗𝘯𝘕 seems like it's captured more non-crypto native people. I think that's super accurate. What's the deal with Zcash? Are we criming over there?
Oh my gosh, dude. I just look at this tweet from Arthur, dude.
I think Secrets of Crypto got it right with the rotations.
Dude, look at this. This is funny, dude. He
Wow.
said, so I was having a dinner with Naval. He shilled me Zcash. So I wanted to ape.
We can't see the right side of your screen over there.
No, I know, but you can see the tweet though. It's pretty baller.
We can see the chart.
Yeah.
But on the right, it was cut off. Shilled Zcash. All my brokers said I couldn't trade, so I had to have it.
It's classic Arthur, dude. It's totally classic Arthur.
Yeah, that was a good combo that we had out in Singapore.
Yeah, you said he called for 250K by the end of the year.
250K Bitcoin by the end of the year.
My God.
$3.4 million Bitcoin by 2028.
Wow.
And this is, he didn't boil it down to just this one thing. There was actually a sequence of events that he called as bullish and what is going to end up leading to this appreciation. But the main kicker in that string of events was Lisa Cook, the Fed governor, getting cooked. And if that happens, then there's it creates this domino effect of things that can happen, and it'll enable Trump to basically take control of the money printer.
That was his thesis.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense. Like, nice. If you walk through the logic of it, and I can do so pretty quickly here, and then we'll get Austin up. Essentially, you've got two governing bodies in the Fed. You've got the FOMC, controls the interest rates, and then you've got the Fed Board of Governors, who control the regional banks. There's 7 people on the Fed FOMC, and there's 12 in the Federal Board of Governors. I may have that switched, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate. And so basically, he made a poker analogy where pocket rockets, 2 aces doesn't mean shit. You want 4 and 7 to pack the Fed. You want 4 out of 7 to make a simple majority vote so that you can swing the vote in the FOMC, and you want 7 out of 12 in the Federal Board of Governors so that you have a majority in the governors. And if you can do that, then you can steepen the yield curve. You can bring interest rates lower in the short term. You can finance the debt and print money as a result of accomplishing whatever your political bias is. And Arthur has this thesis, and it's not just his thesis, but Trump has said it, Bessent has said it. They call it Main Street, not Wall Street, and Arthur calls this QE for poor people. He says they're going to print the money and they're going to pump it directly into the heart of America, which is effectively like giving it to regional banks rather than the too big to fail banks. And then what happens as a result, you remember the concept of a money multiplier? This is how like money is actually injected into the system. If you just print the money, you give it directly to the top, it doesn't flow through the entire economy. But if you have money that's injected into the heart of the economy, the smaller bank, the regional banks, the money multiplier is bigger because the number of times it's rehypothecated is greater. And so if you start at smaller banks, they loan it out, and then it goes to the bigger banks. The bigger banks loan it out, and you end up turning the book more times as a result of starting the money at the smaller bank. And as a result, you end up growing the money supply larger than you would have if you just printed the money and kept it at the top. It doesn't have anywhere to go. And so as a result, the money multiplier is bigger, the supply of money grows. Even though you're printing less money, the supply of money grows and asset prices are inflated.
I know. I mean, look, I think that's what we saw in the previous like COVID kind of money stimulation was just it went to the top. And so Arthur's take was also that France is going to collapse in some capacity, and that the EU is going to need to bail them out.
So he mentioned that at the end of our clip.
Yeah.
And he just posted about that today.
Yeah.
So we're going to see.
All right, guys, we got Austin Federa in the background. The mainnet special, the co-founder of 𝘸𝘪𝘴𝘬. I had Austin on the pod maybe 5 months ago in New York City, and we had a great conversation leading up to mainnet. So pretty stoked on this.
Yeah, I just had Austin on a panel out in KBW, so I'm excited to continue the conversation. It's a good.
All right, great. Well, we'll bring him up, and we'll get started, guys. Welcome to the show, Austin. Congrats on mainnet, dude.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks. It's been quite a few
Yeah, man.
days.
How are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you rested? Have you been staying up all night? What's been
It's that like classic mix of like a lot of adrenaline, a lot of excitement, and not a lot of sleep. But team feels awesome. I think the network getting stood up so quickly, going from announcing in December to launching in October is a great feeling for everyone involved in the project, from the 2 core contributor groups in the foundation to the 12 independent contributors that are actually powering the fiber that makes the whole thing possible.
Only 12 independent contributors making the network possible. That's insane. So how does that work, Austin? I mean, we can talk about all different types of things, but basically you have people in different jurisdictions running, supplying the cable. Like how does that? Yeah.
Totally. So, at its core, 𝘸𝘪 is an attempt to build a new internet for high performance distributed systems like blockchain. And just like in a blockchain where, the foundation does not run the validators, they're run by independent people all around the world. This is not a compute network, it's a bandwidth network. And so what does that mean? Well, the folks who have to provide, capacity to the network are people who have access to fiber.
Right.
And so there's 12 different companies and organizations around the world today, ranging from, trading firms to digital asset firms like Galaxy, to some VCs that have decided to get into the space, to data center operators. They're all contributing fiber to the 𝘸𝘪 network, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a giant spider web of glass running all around the world that carries data through fiber optic cables. And at the end of the day, this is like physically interconnected, physically plugged in cables. So this is a physical infrastructure network. This is not like a software network, but the magic of how it all works together is in the fact that it's powered by blockchain and powered by a token. And that's what allows multiple independent contributors to admin their own network links, which is not possible in a traditional high performance network, but it appears to something operating on it as one homogeneous network. The same way that if you're operating a program on Solana or Ethereum, you're not like, oh, which validator is running my code today? It just appears as one homogeneous virtual machine.
Well, once again, congrats, Austin. We'll give you some confetti here, some money rain.
Incredible. And, we did talk about this on the panel a little bit as far as how it works. But one thing that came out just in the last couple of weeks is the no action letter that you guys got from the SEC. Yeah. And I think, for anyone who's unfamiliar, like this is actually something that's really, really hard to get and really bullish, because when you get a letter from the SEC, usually it's like, wait, what just happened? We're in trouble. But that's not the case here. You guys actually got the confirmation, the rubber stamp, that you guys are in the clear. So maybe you could talk through what a no action letter is, how you were able to obtain it, and what this means for 𝘸𝘪.
Yeah, if you told me in 2022 that in 2025 I was going to be a founder that got a letter from the SEC and had a statement issued by a commissioner, I don't think I would have been bullish. But times have changed. And so a no action letter is something that is pretty common in the traditional financial space, but they're very rare in crypto, and they're sort of a highly coveted letter. And what this basically is you go to the SEC before you do something and you say, hey, here's the thing we'd like to do. Do you see any issues with this as security laws are written and interpreted? And so, usually what this is a traditional financial firm saying, hey, we want to do this thing. Would this run afoul of any of your regulations? For crypto, there's this massive gray zone, right? There are some things that are like objectively securities. Like if you tokenize or if you issue stock on a blockchain, that is just a security, because the security, just because it's on a blockchain doesn't make it magically not a security. And then you have things, like Bonk, which is like just a meme coin and obviously nothing besides that, or Bitcoin, which is very clearly a commodity. There's a whole gray zone in the middle where we don't know, there's no clarity from the government on how to deal with these things. And so what we did is we went to the SEC and we said, hey, we have this reward distribution mechanism called proof of utility, which is a system that more closely resembles proof of work, but contributors to the network, people who provide fiber, they're going to get rewarded, and their rewarded rate is going to be directly proportional to the utility they bring to the network. And so, if you are they use something called Shapley values, and it's basically this formula that says how much worse would this system be if we take this piece away. So it's very similar to proof of work, where if I bring 10% of the hash power to the Bitcoin network, I'm going to get on average 10% of the rewards of the Bitcoin network. So we went to the SEC and we said we'd like to apply for what's called relief on this component of these payments to contributors based on their contributions to the network. And we also asked for relief on staking rewards. Now, there's no staking live on the network today, but we expect a small level of inflation and staking in the future. And basically said, what do you think about this? Now, it's a lot more complicated than that. There's a lot more lawyers involved. It was a months-long process. But we found the SEC to be quite receptive. We found them to be quite professional, quite diligent. There was no crypto animosity. There was no pro-crypto meddling. They were just, people doing their job and following a process to assess whether this thing would fall under security or not. And the determination was these two areas we'd apply for relief. They do not consider them securities transactions and therefore issued a no action letter, which is quite exciting. It takes this very, very wide gray zone in the legal space and it makes it a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think, we've been so blessed this year with the administration in terms of their approach to crypto. And I think we're seeing a lot of positives out of that. And then we're also seeing perhaps overzealous digital asset treasury type of things happening in the same realm. But generally speaking, in this case, this is so critical to 0.0's network design that had this been a part of Gensler's regime, 0.0 simply wouldn't be possible because it probably would get struck down.
Yeah, or it's at least not possible in the United States.
Right,
Yes.
which is a big market. And so...
Which is big. And the thing to really remember here is for folks who are crypto native, we're used to dealing with securities law. We're used to these things possibly being securities. Coinbase has a whole legal team that was dedicated to just telling the government, no, these things are actually commodities.
Yeah.
If you're a telecom company, if you are someone who has access to private fiber, or if you're a trading firm that wants to contribute to this, but you have a lot of licenses issued by a lot of regulators, you might look at this and say, oh, this looks really interesting, but we don't have the lawyers on staff, or we're really worried about the other implications to our other businesses because there's no right to trade, right? It's you need a license to trade and they can always pull that license for another reason. And so what we really got from this was a lot more clarity around how we can bring contributors into the network in a way that they don't have to worry that these tokens they receive might be classified as security.
Well, Austin, we got a couple. Rob.
Was that a concern? Did any one of the providers that you brought on to the network bring that up? Hey, am I allowed to take custody of these tokens?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, constantly. And this even comes up when you're talking to Visa and MasterCard and PayPal about stablecoins, right? The most boring product in crypto, and boring in a good way, but the most vanilla, boring, the price never changes, hopefully, thing in crypto. And even that, the gas fees needed to pay transactions were a years-long concern from these companies when they were just we don't know how these things should be treated. If we're sending payment to a validator, do we need to KYC that validator for processing our transaction? Because that could be considered a securities transaction. All of these problems with all types of institutions adopting crypto, you then multiply them probably by 10 because at least those are financial services firms that are familiar with securities law. A telecom company, they're not familiar with this. It's sort of like asking a blockchain company about medical privacy laws. It's just not something they have any memory for.
Yeah, makes sense. And Austin, we talked about kind of the anti-fragile, philosophy back in our last podcast. We spoke about how truly, if a nation state wants you to be shut down, you're going to be shut down. But basically, up until that point, 0.0 enables you to never go down. Like that is kind of like the philosophy, basically, which I think was extremely bullish for kind of what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah, and look at Afghanistan, right? There's a lot of Ethereum validators that went offline in Afghanistan.
Yeah, India as well. I've been seeing quite a bit of like messaging and Wi-Fi going down and all that type of stuff. We had a couple of things from the chat. Austin, we got new typist saying he wonders now that 𝘬𝘁 is live on mainnet, will we finally see the other fast chains launch like Monad, Mega ETH, Fogo? Maybe they had to wait for the 𝘬𝘁 launch first. Perhaps that's a bit of wishful thinking. But talk to us about the chains which you can kind of plug into, because I know 𝘬𝘁 came from Solana, you came from Solana, but Solana's not 𝘬𝘁's endgame. This should be able to plug into just about any chain. Talk to us about how you guys are planning to work with some of these upcoming really fast chains that will want to have this distributed set of fiber optic cables operating at a very, very high speed. And talk to us about if it's more relevant for distributed L1s versus like single sequencer L2s and what the kind of difference in application is.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, I mean, to start, we are base layer neutral infrastructure. So 𝘬𝘁 will support all types of high performance distributed systems that want to operate on it. It's not a Solana project or something along those lines. There's no ownership from the Solana Foundation. There's no grant from Solana. It truly is an independent project. We started with Solana because that's an area where the problems were most apparent, that validators and traders were running into these problems on a daily basis. But we will, expand out to other chains. We'd love to work with all the ones you mentioned. We're already working with Fogo. We're already working with 𝘱𝑗, which is this storage network that Aptos is building. There's another unlaunched new L1 we're working with as well. And there's a bunch of Ethereum L2s that we've been talking to as well, because the problem there's like 3 problems that are all bandwidth related and latency related. And an L2 does not have all of them, but it has some of them. So let's take something like Hyperliquid, for example, because this is like a really good example of it. This is a fairly small cluster of validators that are all running in the same region. So they don't have this problem of the public internet slowing them down between consensus, because they're all running in basically the same data center or same data centers. And because of that, when you're within a system, the connectivity is pretty great. If you are talking to another server in New York City, the metro connections are very strong. It's when you start getting, I'm going to go to a different city and a different country, and now I'm going to cross an ocean. That's really when you start to see the public internet lack its performance characteristics. But even on something like Hyperliquid, one of the main problems that they have, for example, are read nodes. There's so many people trying to read data from the Hyperliquid ledger that it's very hard to run a read node that keeps up. So what happens if you have stale data? Well, if you have stale data, you are at a systematic disadvantage, and there's no way to recover from that disadvantage. There's no such thing as time travel, but getting information before someone else in a market is the closest thing we can have to time travel. And so even in a centralized L2 or small validator cluster L1, you can use 𝘬𝘁 to multicast out data. And multicast is this technology where it's basically hardware acceleration of packet replication. So instead of the computer having to send out data, 250 times, 2,000 times to everyone who wants a copy of it, the network can send it out once, or the validator can send it out once, and then the network switches replicate that data automatically. This is the same way that, AirPlay or Sonos speakers work. Your phone's not sending out 10 copies of the music, it's sending 1 copy out that the network gets to 10 different locations. You can't run multicast on the public internet. But you can see why in a situation where you have a really fast L2 and the market's moving really quickly and blocks are being made, every 10 milliseconds, every 1 millisecond, that the ability to blast that data out quickly and fairly to everyone that wants to receive it is going to be critical to making markets actually work. And we know this is the case because this is exactly how NASDAQ and NYSE work. They use multicast to distribute price feeds within their trading data centers to make sure that that's fair for everyone else. But that's just one part of it. The other piece you can do is if you're a validator and you are voting, you can now multicast all of the votes. And so suddenly signature aggregation on votes becomes a much quicker operation. If you are sending a transaction and you're building a validator with a type of architecture that allows for this, you could even multicast transactions out. And suddenly you can have 2 validators building a block at the same time. there's a lot of these types of things that become possible when you're not constrained by data flows on the public internet.
Austin, one thing that I've been hearing about with the L2 versus L1 kind of conversation is very related to multicast and is very related to this general idea is like, oh, Plasma L1 should have been in L2 because they're going to save $500 million a year on validator costs. And that's more of the economic side, but what we're talking about is more on the bandwidth side here. But with 0.0, does 0.0's tech here with multicast and this ability to make effectively distributed L1s better, like, and solve more problems for them than necessarily than what it could do for a single sequencer L2 is basically what I'm getting to. Does this make L2s like less of a powerful like force, if you will, or does it kind of take away from L2's value prop, or like, can you kind of see what I'm getting at here? Like,
Yeah. I see what you're getting at. So I'm not sure the cost of operating a validator network usually is not the actual validators. The validators are $1,500, $2,000 a month at maximum. Now, if you're running failovers for them, you can double those numbers. These are not that much money. Obviously, it's a lot of money for a normal person, but like in the scale of something like a new stablecoin blockchain launching, they're rounding errors. Really, what the cost is on a validator network for the most part is inflation and rewards. And that's kind of where those come from. I'm not aware of any L2 that has inflation because they're just centralized sequencers and they just collect the base fee, from ETH in this case, for the most part. And so you're not really in a place where like the costs are really more issuance costs than they are validator network costs. You look at something like Hyperliquid or Fogo, it's not that many computers. The cost is not actually in that. So I don't know if that makes the L2 thesis stronger or weaker. I think actually probably what we do, there's a lot of advantages to, like, if you allow me a diversion for a second, an L2 is basically a market that's hyper localized to one CPU and like 2 DINs of RAM. Like it exists in like probably 1 square meter, and that's it. You look at like the New York Stock Exchange, it exists in probably 500 square meters in 1 data center. You look at the Binance order book, it exists also in a few square meters in the world. And so all of these are basically point source markets. And what happens in a point source market is you have an event that basically creates a light cone that, comes out from there. And it's very similar to like, I don't know why this is my go-to analogy, but it's like if the sun magically disappeared, right? There's a propagation delay as that gravity well readjusts that moves at the speed of light. And you can think about information moving from a point source market in a similar way. So Mercury and Venus go flying off way before that, event hits the Earth and we go flying off into space. Markets work exactly the same way. And so when you're dealing with point source markets, which is what L2s are and what traditional exchanges are, those occur in one finite location or centralized exchanges. When you're talking about global markets, the point source is moving around all the time. You still have point source markets, but now it's built in Singapore, now it's built in Amsterdam, now it's built in New York. And so you have this kind of ripple effect of information. So the asymmetry is more evenly distributed in one of these systems. There's advantages to that and there's disadvantages to that. The advantage to that is that it is a little bit more fair. L2s have this fundamental fairness problem that every centralized market has, which is if you are next to the trade server, you're going to get fresher data and you're going to have lower latency to transact with it. And actually, a lot of L2s go through a lot of work to hide where they're actually running their sequencer just to prevent this type of thing from happening. And so you can sort of see this both ways, that like the multiple concurrent proposers vision of Solana basically creates global markets very effectively. But the other way to look at this is with enough fast L2s, with enough fast fiber interconnecting them, you effectively get global markets as well because you have arbitrage events able to move very quickly. This is why if price discovery happens in New York, it's reflected in Singapore very quickly because all of these networks have private fiber lines connecting them. And so this is kind of where, like, if there's one L2 that becomes the only dominant L2, like if Base or Mega ETH or whatever is 95% of the market, the applications for 0.0 are lessened. If we have a healthy competition where we have like an L2 that's like the New York Stock Exchange, we have an L2 that's the Nikkei Stock Exchange, we have this multipolar world and they're not all physically located in the same place, which I don't think they should be. Co-location on markets is actually a disadvantage, not an advantage. Like there's all these rumors that Binance is moving their central limit order book, like the actual server that runs the order book from Tokyo to Dubai. And if they do that, like this is incredibly bullish for 𝘸𝘪 because suddenly you now have all these arbitrage events between the exchanges located in Tokyo and the Binance order book in Dubai. So it's a very interesting, cool system that starts to reflect more of a traditional market structure.
Yeah, I think what you're getting at is that, well, just to kind of rephrase, you've got multiple centers of gravity, that are kind of spread around the world, and that creates a more fair market because it creates more of these checks and balances effectively between these different poles or these nodes in the system. And when you have that, you're able to connect them through 𝘸𝘪. And so when you have a multipolar world, 𝘸𝘪 becomes really practical to connect all of these nodes.
Yes.
Austin, that makes a ton of sense, and it also describes the demand for the system, where these are nodes, these are validators, these are trading firms that are all trying to pipe their flow through these pipelines at the speed of light or as close to it as they can. I'm curious a little bit about the supply side of this market. I just quickly looked up the kind of web of fiber that is currently underwater right now, and there's several providers, actually way more than I thought, maybe close to 100 or more. And so you mentioned that there's 12. Are you guys gearing up to try to take more of that market? And ultimately, do you wish or expect 100% of underwater fiber to be transferring and coordinating with 𝘸𝘪? Or maybe talk to us about the network effects at which that becomes possible or sustainable.
So I would not expect it to ever be 100% because there are trading firms that have a lot of those access to those fiber lines as well. And so what we have in the world of subsea fiber is a fairly diverse group of companies that use those systems. It's everything from the State Department that has its embassies wired up with private fiber networks to Google to, Meta is the largest investor in subsea fiber currently of anyone in the world. And it's so your Instagram reels load really quickly in Bali so they can show you more ads. Like it is just because they're an ad tech company. And so, these big internet service providers, I imagine they will continue to build their own cable systems and use their own cable systems, but they're run by one independent or one centralized company. They don't have these properties that we value in blockchain. So I think there's kind of, if you look at this from like the point of view of someone like, let's say like an Epic Games or something like that. They make Fortnite. They have kids all around the world that want to play Fortnite. There's no way to prioritize traffic on the public internet today. You would think that they could just be like, look, this is Fortnite traffic. We make billions of dollars a year on it. We're just going to pay every ISP 10% more to carry our data more quickly. And that'll help prioritize data. There's no way to do that on the internet today. And so really what you can think of is we're building a parallel internet system that is using technologies that allow it to move faster than the public internet, but also allow for things like fee discrimination on data prioritization. And, the first most glaring application of that are for traders and people who want to do arbitrages between different point source markets. But as we expand, there's no reason that can't also be used in a less latency sensitive way for things like online gaming or any sort of situation where someone wants to prioritize data.
Would you agree that maybe public internet is this network is also public in a sense, right? It's just premium.
Yes.
Right. It's not a private thing that you guys are gatekeeping. Anyone can come and if they have the resources, they can pay for the advanced service.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are some limitations on that. And what I mean by that is like, we still have, like, you can't send WhatsApp messages over 𝘸𝘪, for example. We do have some of those types of limitations just because we have to run some amount of traffic control. But as long as the system is qualified in, like the Solana network has like a data flow that's not easy to understand, but it is modelable. And like, we know what that is. You can do the same thing for everything that is a programmatic protocol. So as long as the thing is a protocol, you can run it on 𝘸𝘪. We can understand it. These things can work together with the FPGAs and the routing to make sure that everything gets where it wants to go. Our long-term vision, though, really is like we want to replace IP addresses. They're a pretty outdated anarchical way to do routing. When I'm trying to talk to a server, I'm not trying to talk to an IP address. Most of the time nowadays, I'm trying to talk to a cryptographic signature. And so we really want to build out, public-private key routing So when you say like, hey, there's this validator identity that I want to get packets to, you're not then saying, oh, what's its IP address? Let me run that over a network. You're actually, private key, public key cryptography, handshaking with that system, establishing connections and going from there. And so this can remove things like certificate authorities and a lot of like DNS and a lot of these very centralized services on the internet today that are actually major points of censorship that we don't even think about as major points of censorship.
Austin, I gotta ask a bit of a game theoretical question as a result of what you've just described, because in this explanation and in theory, it sounds like we're solving really, really core problems that should have been solved a while ago, but crypto hasn't had this. I think you said this was like crypto's broadband moment, basically, right? Where the internet's had all this technology for a long time, but for some reason we've been doing crypto in kind of like this old school fashion. That being said, though, when I think about validators that operate on an L1, and I may have asked you this on the pod, but I just want to get a further confirmation. Like, validators are making extra money on Solana and on some of these chains because they have access to MEV effectively, and they get priority ordering and they get JITO tips. And so there's like this incentive for validators to actually just keep kind of farming that yield, if you will, versus going to a more like fair, quicker system that is basically, better run. It seems like you guys have gotten over that problem. You guys got an additional 10 million SOL tokens as part of your 0.0 delegation program that you announced yesterday, I believe. Talk to us about the process of getting, 20% or so of Solana's mainnet stake onto 0.0. Like, did you have to convince the validators that like this is going to be better for them? How does that process really work to kind of navigate?
Yeah,
the
and we are
incentives?
still convincing them. I would certainly not call it a job done by any means. Our ultimate metric that we need to do is we need to make validators more money than they would make without 0.0. Now, if you think about it from the perspective of a Solana token holder, if you think the network going from 10,000 transactions per second to 100,000 is going to be meaningful for your economic well-being in the future, talk to your validator about running on 0.0. But from the individual validator's perspective, it's not enough to go to them and say like, hey, if we just do this thing, everyone's going to have a better time. Everything's going to be better. Like these are, as they should be, cold-blooded capitalists. That's why we're all here. That's the thing that makes Bitcoin great, is that people trying to screw each other over actually makes the most secure monetary system anyone's ever created. So we have to work with adversarial incentives and assume that everyone is just a self-interested actor in it for their own reasons. And so we're working with JITO, we're working with a bunch of other folks on making it possible to have different types of transactions, different types of MEV potentially, basically take advantage of the speed that the 0.0 network offers. Now, one of the really cool things is there was a proposal to modify Solana just a few days ago from, I think, the Firedancer team that removes the compute limits in blocks entirely. It basically says, hey, if you can build a giant, massive block with a ton of fees in it, you should do that, as long as you can build it and transmit it within the allotted time. And so there's things like that where suddenly when we start removing some of the limiters that are currently on the protocol, you start to see like pretty asymmetric benefits from being able to either build bigger blocks or build more compute intensive blocks. And our hope too is that like this is not just a game where it's like, oh, it's more MEV, it's more, these types of things. It's literally, if the block is 10 times larger, there's not going to be 10 times as many fees in it, but there's certainly going to be more fees in it than there would be otherwise.
Yeah, it's just like growing the pie. And if we have a bigger
Exactly.
system that is better oiled, then you as a validator, like basically what we're saying here is, Solana, Monad, Avalanche, Insert L1, Optimism, Arbitrum, etc. base, these are all in their, junior toddler years still, which is totally respectable and reasonable. 0.0 helps us to get to a more middle school, high school level grade. In doing that, you can expect to grow the pie significantly, such that, if you were to run like a linear calculation or something you could see the function growth happen as a result of what, 0.0 brings. Like, let's put it this way, like, would the CME come trade on Solana if 0.0 didn't exist? And that's the question that we're trying to answer, basically.
Right. And I'm not here to say they definitely will with 0.0, but I'll say they're more likely to. And the reason for that is there's all this lack of determinism in blockchains today. You send a transaction, maybe it takes 200 milliseconds to get there. Maybe it takes 2 seconds to get there. This is why, you see like 𝘗𝘗𝘧𝘗𝘗 tweeting so much about like, what is the inclusion latency for like P95 and P99 on the network? It's like, how deterministic is it that when a market maker sends a cancel, it's actually going to get in a known quantity of time? In traditional exchanges, they have 12 nines of certainty that when they send that transaction, it will be processed within the certain amount of time that they expect it to. They don't have that in blockchain today. So what happens? They can't quote as tight because they're worried about getting picked off when market.
And you called that jitter, right? It was like this
Yes.
like jitter effect that you're trying to basically normalize, like basically get rid of these spikes of jitters where you're not getting the same, like you want to get rid of variance effectively.
Yes.
If there's a little bit of jitter, that's fine, but it must be a normalized average that is consistent within some like,
we
curve.
want to get jitter to 0. That is really truly the goal. So what jitter is, to sort of like explain what you're talking about here, is it is a measurement of how much your ping time changes. So you can think about this as like, if I'm landing at JFK and I have to get to Midtown Manhattan, if I land at 2 a.m., it might be 45 minutes. If I land at 4 p.m., it might be 2.5 hours. And so that is jitter. The same distance of trip on the same amount of miles takes a different amount of time depending on the conditions of the moment. And so if you go to 00.xyz/dashboard, we just launched this thing, 00.xyz/dashboard, you can see in real time all the fiber links in the network, all the performance characteristics of them, what their latency is. And if you go to this area of telemetry and metrics, you can see how much we beat the public internet in terms of latency. We don't have a good jitter metric in here at the moment. We will be rolling that out. But the jitter on the 00 network is functionally 0. We are talking about, usually 1 millisecond or less of jitter across these links 24/7, 365. And that is really what traditional firms expect and want when they're looking at new places to trade.
And that's why you guys have to have a very understandable, you have to have a very solid understanding of what you're putting into the network. Like you said, maybe WhatsApp you use as an example because it's unpredictable in flow. And so once you start including some of those things, they have a lot of variance as far as when they're traffic, when they're clogged. And so you're restricting what you're putting into the network based on things that you can really measure, you can really understand the flows, and you can essentially strip that into just protocols and include that into the system so that you have a very solid understanding of what's going in and therefore the variance of the system at any given time.
Yeah, and the other piece too is it doesn't have to be, but stuff that will benefit from multicast will benefit disproportionately from 00. And so that's where distributed systems or the type like a blockchain L1 or an L2 where a lot of people want to read from it at the same time. Anytime you have a lot of people that want the same thing that's produced in one location, that's when multicast and 00 really is important. Latency is also obviously another huge one from a trading perspective. Even stuff like flash bots, which Ethereum, the L1, there's no use for the Ethereum L1 on 00. It's built to be at a certain slow speed intentionally. Flash bots is not that at all. Flash bots still benefits from low latency connections. And so even if the main network itself is not a good fit, there's things that run on top of it that would benefit from this.
So Rob, when your girlfriend is mad at you and texting you a ton on WhatsApp, you just take your 00 validator that's connected to Florida, shut it off, go for a run, come back, turn it on. You'll be all good, man. Or I think the network will be able to handle a couple of angry texts though. I would hope,
Andy, one day you're going to get a girlfriend and she's going to be running her own fiber on 00. And you guys can just talk to each other at super low latency, no jitter whatsoever.
No jitter, baby. New Rollup TV motto, no jitter in this stream, baby. No jitter. 𝘗𝘗𝘧𝗗𝗏, congratulations on 00 mainnet. I know you've been working on this a ton. I guess last but not least, man, what's your focus now that it's kind of a new day one? Where's your head at?
I'd say there's really two things. One is onboarding more validators to the network, and the second is building out support for new tenants, new blockchains, and other types of high-performance distributed systems that want to operate on it. So, if you're building a protocol, if you work for a protocol, if you are a founder of a protocol and you feel inspired, like we'd love to chat.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time,
so
dude.
much. Really
We'll see you in the city
product.
soon.
It's very cool to see you work on this.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll see you in New York. Peace, man.
See you next time.
Much love. All right, buddy. All right, Rob. Well, no jitter, baby. That's the motto.
No jitter, but you're still a jitterbug kid.
So, dude, that thing was trading, or that thing was raising, I think, at like, it was a pretty high valuation, and it was very oversubscribed. Let's see.
When you think about the power of what's possible here and what Austin is building, this is fundamentally like these are some of the projects that are bigger than what we currently know as crypto.
What the hell? It says it's trading at $80 million FDV.
I mean, that's not financial advice, but that is
I'm pretty sure they raised that 300 to 400, by the way.
What's that?
They definitely raised that 300 to 400. This is weird. I'm a bit thrown off. Congrats to Austin. Thanks, Rug. LMAO. Some jitter can be fun. Cheers, gentlemen. Shout out to you, Lee. Appreciate you vibing with us today, brother. Yeah. So it's trading at it's trading at $80 billion FTV.
They must have did so. I mean, we didn't talk to him so much about the launch, but I see the first tick on CoinGecko at 0.8 cents.
Yeah,
and it's up
same.
7,000% since then. So there must have been some sort of fair launch.
I don't know. Fuck, why didn't we ask him about that? I should have pulled that up. Oh well. Oh well. Well, that's cool. So yeah, I mean, that was a good conversation. Austin's really smart. That was awesome.
He's very smart. Very cool.
Yeah, that was great. Well, cool. Let's see what's going on in the chat. CoinGecko FTV is using circulating. Oh, okay. Is that right? Because the circulating rate, or the market cap on CoinGecko is showing 28 million, and then
circulating market cap
FTV is showing 80 million. What is CoinMarketCap showing? Honestly, I don't ever use CoinMarketCap anymore. I used to use it in like 2017.
I know, that was the OG. Now
oh, I see. Okay, so 00 is showing on CoinGecko an FTV, or CoinMarketCap an FTV of 5.87 billion.
That seems more accurate.
That's more like it.
Which is correct. I mean, there's
circulating of 2 billion.
Yeah,
so
2 billion supply.
It was oversubscribed at 400 million. And looks like investors are currently up 10x, 12x on the FTB. So pretty good. Congrats to the investors. Obviously, still a ways to go in terms of the vesting schedules, but you know, it happens.
It's great to see.
No, that's bullish.
I mean, Austin's such a nice guy. He's a good guy too. You can tell he's just doing it because for the love of the game. Yeah,
exactly. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean,
all right, anywhere else we got?
5 billion seems
more
happening. 5 billion seems more kind of in tune with what's realistic here and what's normal.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So, yeah, I mean, dude, welcome back, man. You know, I'm gonna pull up Yahoo News and just see what's going on in the real world. There's a government shutdown is going on, so maybe we can just pull this up, Leo, and just show what's going on here.
Imposing left-wing priorities that are contrary.
I mean, you just saw the ticker of Ethereum on Fox Business.
And
the real world and the crypto world are becoming
Democrats
one and the same.
in Congress
These are no longer
to scream and weep and gnsh their teeth.
The shutdown could leave more than 750,000 federal employees furloughed and more than 2 million military service members without a paycheck.
Bitcoin
Heather Campbell, a military wife and mother of 3, says many families could struggle to put food on the table.
White House warns massive layoffs
a really difficult economic pattern for military families, and
they were trying to lay off people, and they were trying to get people to
of our families are struggling to put food on the table.
Vice President J.D. Vance was pressed on why layoffs are necessary, given that previous administrations only furloughed workers, a temporary move.
What we're saying is that we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on.
The White House is also targeting Democratic states with a wave of cuts to federal projects. The cuts will impact 16 states, including $18 billion
energy.
for infrastructure projects in New York and nearly $8 billion for energy programs. At the core of the government shutdown fight is a demand from Democrats who refuse to support a.
You know what's funny is that this was coming in, and like Trump was supposed to, or Elon was trying to do this, and he did it, and Trump like pushed him out of it, and then now they're just doing the same thing. They're just reducing the amount of workers in the government. It's weird. It's like Elon was trying to do this, and then Trump and him got in a fight, and then now they're just doing it. I don't know.
I think Trump was always on board with firing people. I don't think they got into a spat. Like, this was not the purpose of their spat.
No. Interesting.
But it is ironic that now they're coming back to it, and now they're being kind of like, it's under the veil of like being forced to do it. But I have this inkling that I think they almost wanted it to get to this point, and they could have pushed harder for it not to get shut down. And this is just another way that they can cut some of the workforce, put in some automation. Look, if you're a pure technocrat, you love this. You love that people are getting fired. You love that people are getting laid off, because we're going to have AI. We're going to have robots. Not that robots are going to do so much of a politician's job, or government employees. Government's the largest employer. So I'm sure there's jobs out there that will get laid off that are possible to do with robots. AI, absolutely. And so if you're a technocrat, you love to see automation coming in and replacing human workers.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty indicative of the times. I mean, it's probably just going to keep accelerating from here. So I would, it's just how this is happening is just, I don't know, man, but Bitcoin is ripping. And I think anything to do with, government shutdown is bullish. Elon said BBB spent too much money equals fight. Yeah, but that's what I mean though, right? Like, Lee, like Elon was trying to do the similar thing, and then he kind of got kicked out of the setup because of it, which is just weird, I thought. So, yeah. Leo, I'm gonna pull up I'm gonna pull up good old Arthur's latest blog, and I want to go through it a bit. So let's get that up.
Yeah, so this is going to be what's more so happening in Europe. And Arthur explained this on our last chat.
Yeah, which
again,
I
think
for.
Just to close the loop on the American situation, I believe Elon and Trump were on the same page when it came to reducing the government workforce. I think they got into a spat over, I believe it was over like Elon kind of bad mouthing some of the other people in the government. They really agreed on the austerity measures that they were putting into place.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see, man. I'd like to talk about what Arthur wrote in this piece. I did a Notebook LM on it, and I thought it was pretty interesting what Notebook LM was saying. But basically, Arthur put out this piece, Bastille Day, kind of talking about the French. And so I think like the big thing here is, here it is. This time around, Germany and France are pulling in opposite directions, and French savers know what up. That's not my cursory knowledge. It's literally just a chart that's showing this. And basically this chart is showing that people are like pulling out of French savings account. It's a chart of the change in target balance of NCBs, which is basically like it shows net claims or liabilities on the balance sheet of NCBs vis-a-vis to the European Central Bank. A positive target balance means a NCB, which I don't even know what NCB stands for, honestly, Rob. Net country balance has a net claim on, or something like that, on the European Central Bank balance. And that more has flown in. A negative means that funds have left. And basically what's happening here is that this is showing that the balance of capital in French banks is going, or basically French savers are pulling their money out of France and out of French banks and out into either European central banks or out of the European system. And so Germany always has a target balance banks because it's the largest and strongest economy. But what about the country that represents the bold white line? That is France. And basically, this essay explains why France is fucked. And so why a change.
Well, hold on. It's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
This essay explains why the European Central Bank is going to need to bail out France.
Yes.
And so I think you're right. It is explaining why French debt is fucked. But the EU and the European Central Bank, they can't just let France die.
Of course. They're going to have to print money to bail them out.
They're going to have to print money to bail
buy
out
Bitcoin and gold. I mean, we can just scroll down to the end of the page.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that's
the end of the post. If you go.
And if you notice, there's a trend and a pattern when it comes to Arthur's articles, is that usually the conclusion ends
is buy Bitcoin and gold.
Printing fiat.
Yeah. So look, either the ECB presses the Burr button now and implicitly finances the French welfare state, or it does later when French capital controls threaten to destroy the euro. Either way, money gets printed to the tune of trillions of euros.
Trillions.
Bitcoin don't care. It will continue its inexorable rise versus the piece of trash that is the euro, Rob.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you're seeing this. This is no longer just an American thing when they're talking about financing the debt, turning over some of the 9 trillion debt that needs to get refinanced, and ultimately printing money into the stablecoin issuers as a way of refinancing that debt. Nope. This is a global thing. So yeah, the US might be in a bit of a pinch when it comes to printing money, but the EU is just as much feeling that as the US is.
Yep.
And so France is kind of the first hat to drop, in which the European Central Bank is going to need to protect against that. And I think if you see this and you see what's happening in America, the European Central Bank could also go the stable coin route, which could ultimately have a very similar effect to what Arthur is predicting on the on-chain, what's going to happen to on-chain assets, as well as with just hard assets in general. But the difference, and I think this is something that we've heard some other Twitter philosophers talk about, is that the EU could turn to a central bank digital currency rather than a privatized capitalistic stablecoin economy that we have developing in the US.
Interesting.
This
Hey Tree. Hey Tree has person turquoise waving. Hi Tree. Hello Tree. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on today. Rob, I want to let you finish, but I want to show you something as well.
I think I'm all done with that point.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Stripe basically is coming out, and we've got a demo here of Stripe's new product.
Okay, so who is this for? What's going on here? Maybe walk us through this.
So basically, Stripe is rolling out fundamental new capabilities. Hold and convert balances to major currencies, send and receive over local bank rails, and instantly issued a card backed by a balance. And basically, Jeremy Allaire is talking about, you can use USDC everywhere. So I just want to show the demo. We can talk about it. She's a little zoomed in, isn't she? But that's all good. Yeah, it's on screen audio. Should be working. Where's the stable coins, honey?
Money will get in the currency in which it's received, which means you will be charged conversion fees only if you convert currencies. No more unnecessary FX fees. And switching between currencies is also cheap and easy. So let me quickly do a transfer for you. So I can hit this button over here. And let's say my business needs more euros. I can select euros as the to balance. Let's say I want to convert some pounds. I can enter an amount.
Someone just asked me if they use base codes if we'll get an airdrop. I'm like, bro, come on.
Shows me the conversion fees right here.
Look,
I can hit review.
I was at Basecamp.
Hit convert.
And they're starting to explore a base network token.
We've also
and if you
built
use the base
on
app, such as
which means you can now
going on control the stream
without needing a local presence.
And playing around with it while we're on stream.
Account details
you won't get a Rollup coin airdrop, but you might get a base coin airdrop.
Just like they send money to any other local.
Dude, look at USDC down there. It's so cool.
For European businesses and so on. No more painful international wires.
Yeah, I think
accounts are,
if you're putting let's put some of these pieces
now
together.
The next big thing that's different for you now.
We've got America.
How you send money. With Stripe, you can now pay a vendor with just their email
driving it into regional banks.
And so let me show you how that works.
Also into stablecoin issuers.
Let me add a new recipient.
In terms of T-bills. And then you've got the European Union going and potentially, and also printing trillions, potentially launching a stablecoin or a central bank digital currency. Oh, shout out the boy Brad with the 1 cent tip.
Yes, sir.
Let's go.
We got tips coming in today, Rob.
You can see my recipient's experience. They're going to get an email.
Oh, yeah, I saw them rolling in.
And if they have their bank details.
So if you're putting some of these pieces together, you got to
about stablecoins?
Well, not just, stablecoins in America, we've got kind of this burgeoning industry of stablecoins that are launching. We've got the European Bank looking to print trillions. I think the European Bank is in a position where they're probably just going to print a singular stablecoin.
All right, sorry, Rob. Let me pause this. I'll let you finish. This
no,
is
please.
fucking
this is
crazy.
This is this is great. This is great background while I'm explaining the point. And so I think what we could. Oh, Brad bought some Create. I wonder. That sounds bullish. What I'm getting
Open AI, new video tool, Rob.
We're gonna end up with this really wide spectrum of stable coins.
We are.
And I think tools like Stripe and these L1s, these payment processors, ultimately there's gonna be. Okay, so another piece here is that we're deregulating this industry to a T.
Bro, did you just see that dog bite that ball?
Oh, I saw it. I saw it. This is AI slop to the max. And so what we've got here, and that's another thing, is once we've got 4 out of 7, we're able to deregulate this industry far and wide. And I think what you're going to end up with is you're going to basically unshackle these social media companies and really anyone, these big e-commerce companies as well. And we're going to let them launch their own stablecoins.
Everyone is. I mean, Stripe just came out with their open issuance standard, which is going to allow basically, verified parties to launch stablecoins, which is just crazy.
Right. And so if you think back to why Meta had to shut down Libra, it's because banking regulations did not allow these companies to perform bank functions.
Yeah.
But that is no longer the case. I think we're going to have Walmart. Meta already tried. Apple has trillions of cash on hand. They're going to be launching their own currencies. They're going to be launching their own stable coins. And they're going to, now that they have a peg and they have a mechanism to tie these things back to US dollars, America's going to let this thing run wild. And I think it's going to enable a lot of the infrastructure that we have built. We're going to need massive coordination tools as a means of just sifting through all of these stable coins so that we don't end up with this fragmented mess on the back end.
Yep.
And I think that is going to be one of the major use cases for blockchain rails and payment technology is coordinating across hundreds, if not thousands of stable coins that end up becoming issued from all of your favorite brands, Walmart, Amazon, Whole Foods. All of these guys are going to end up with their own stable coin as a means of kind of protecting their own settlement, increasing and decreasing their own fees, increasing their own capital. And basically they can use capital controls on their own for the money that they have themselves. They don't have to pay 3% to Visa or their settlement network anymore. They can retain all of that. And then they can effectively settle with a bank stablecoin and they might even get paid now rather than having to pay 3%.
Where every Fortune 5000 isn't using stablecoins in the next 10 years. But with every existing blockchain,
Did he just say 5,000 stablecoins in 10 years?
No, every top Fortune 500 company or 5,000 company to not be using stablecoins.
Can see every payment their company
not be using stablecoins.
Yeah, he's pitching privacy basically.
So I think you'll agree with me that stablecoins don't work without privacy. People still don't think.
But I think you'll end up with privacy-enabled stablecoins.
You think so?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what Pay's trying to do.
Like Circle's Arc is already talking about enabling privacy on their network.
What if I told you we had?
You can enable privacy at the infrastructure layer. You don't need to do it at the currency or the stablecoin layer.
Thousands of users and millions in volume. That's what it will take.
Yo, Rob. So get this, bro. Lighter mainnet's live. I'm texting my boy Reed. I'm like, bro, let me buy OTC points off you. I'll trade you some locked Pengu. Bro, this is the same trade as Hyperliquid, dude. The same trade. I swear to God, it's the same trade. It's get on there, today, whatever, get some assets on there, do some farming, whatever, get some points, but you're not going to make a lot of money. It's too late on the points farming. My buddy Reed, I was in Sweden with him in July, and he was fucking just dialing on the points.
I remember we went to dinner in Cannes.
He was freaking just points farming.
That's all he was doing.
And he's about to get a he's about to get a 7-figure airdrop. And dude, I think we just aped like 50 bands on launch on this thing. I think it's literally Hyperliquid Trade 2.0. Like, I think the second it goes live, we should be buying. Yeah.
But these guys have VCs. There's a big difference between this and Hyperliquid. Like,
yes, but like it's not like VC's gonna be able to nuke it on day one. The VCs will be okay. So here's the deal. My thesis is that the VCs that are in
here's the deal.
Will be buying it. They will be buying it on launch to like hype it up, to make it like go after Hyperliquid, and the liquid funds, which have no exposure to hype, will buy this as their next hype, and this thing will launch probably higher than hype did. So it'll launch at like 4 or 5 billion maybe. And this thing is going to trade 10, 20, 30 billion quick. And hype is going to probably go higher before then. We'll see. But this thing should trade like half of hype's FDV. So that puts it right now, if we're not doing the John Char burn 45%, that puts it at 25 billion. It's going to launch, I think, at less than 10. So I think there's an easy 2x here with size if we're getting at the second it launches. Like literally, I want to be jamming it the second it launches. And that's what I'm going to do. That's my plan. And I'm telling everyone about it right now. And that's the plan. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what we did on Hype. And Hype's at $50. And we got it at $2, 25x in size. I think we can get a 5x in size on Lighter. What do you think? Do you approve the usage of your capital?
It makes sense. I do. I just don't think you're gonna. Well, a 2x in the way that you describe it actually makes sense.
Like, I think it's around like 5 bill, bro. We can easily get this thing to 10, 20 bill.
It's just not as lucrative as Hype. Hype
Well,
was
of course.
it was a special case because it launched so low.
And people, but it didn't launch that. I mean, it did launch low comparatively, but it was more about, it was the first of its kind and nobody knew what was possible and what was coming. Whereas now everyone and their mother is familiar with what Hyperliquid has done. So they're going to be familiar with what Lighter can do. You know what I mean?
You're saying it's de-risked a lot of the investors from coming in?
It is not so, it's not so like, I think there's going to be more capital trying to do the same strategy that I just kind of said, basically.
Look, I also think people are kind of like chasing like Aster, Lighter, as a means of, because they missed Hype and they have that FOMO and now they.
But Lighter is like legit the next kind of trade for it. I think.
I could see that. I could see like like we have a nice hyperliquid position. I could understand us trimming that and chasing this for higher beta on the perps market. But I think just in general, I just think hyperliquid's still the best. And so ultimately, like, the capital does return home to the best product.
Yeah, but if this thing is doing similar volume, yeah, we'll have to see, bro, because they also have 0 fees. So
Lighter?
If Lighter comes on and undercuts hyperliquid, and it's like, look, we're gonna trade 0 fees because you like we're just gonna undercut you, that could be really sketchy for hype.
Yeah, Arthur had mentioned that too.
We gotta get this guy in the show. Rob, we got like 5 or 6 people that we could have got at token.
I know.
That we'll get on virtual.
So let's see. We've got. Should we shout him out?
Nah, we're good.
Quick little. Yeah. Come on. No one, you know. Tom Lee. Paolo. Bit Digital. Couple more. Moonpet.
ETH plus AI. Let's just put ETH next to the most hype thing possible. Call it a fucking strategy.
Yeah, Joseph Shalom was a fun conversation. Is that Luca? It's my boy Luca from M0. Absolute character. Went on a hike. Like, not just a hike, dude. Like, a week-long expedition through the Alps. It was a race.
Wow.
Towards a Jews, something like that. And slept for like 30 minutes at a time and raced through the Alps. The week.
Damn, token looks lit, dude.
Yeah, F1 this weekend. Conferences were great.
I don't know, dude. I almost put out a tweet that was like, conferences in the bear market over conferences in the bull market. Like, I don't think there's much deal flow that I would have got out there. Maybe there is, but it's all so hyped up right now. I get like the brand presence, which I think that we had, which was nice. Here's Mantle's mixer. Looks pretty dope.
Nice.
But like, I'm just, dude, we got so much good deal flow from conferences in the bear and then the early bull versus like what we're gonna get now. I guess there's like important meetings and stuff, but
no, I really enjoyed the way that we went about this one. I went out there, I knew exactly what I was getting into each day. There was no like downtime, really. It was just go, record content, and then go back and recover, which is exactly what I think is the most productive use of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not your first rodeo, you know?
Exactly. So I think it was useful. It was useful and it was productive from that standpoint. But over the next couple days, like, you know, I was there Monday, Tuesday in Singapore. I was doing podcasts all day those 2 days. Wednesday and Thursday were like the actual conference days. It would have been like going to side events and like potentially randomly running into people. And that's what you end up getting is you don't like Wednesday and Thursday, like people are like, oh, you know, like let's meet up or like we're going to this event. Maybe we'll see you there. It's like, maybe I'll see you there isn't really like a business strategy.
No,
like,
yeah.
Like, let's go, let's get something done. Let's get something in the books. Let's make it happen. And if we don't have like a reason or a purpose, there's a lot more productive things that we could be doing.
I mean, it looks so dope, though.
In the market for the past 8 years, we have around 15 million users so far. We have a presence in 200 plus countries. So we thought about all these things. That's why we
CoinW. I don't know what it is. I've never heard of it.
To add it on our platform. So we launched PropW. We launched GemW. We launched.
Yo, sick drop. They were doing tattoos at the event? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. Yes, sir. Cold plunge.
This industry, dude, this industry, man.
Dude, so good. So good.
And that guy's in one of the bubbles with the money flying everywhere.
I think so. Coinbase was out there, obviously.
Submit a project to get listed.
Coinbase had a house out there, I guess.
Space coin.
Space coin.
All right. So you want to ape lighter?
Yeah, on launch. I do want to ape lighter on launch. Wow, this is live from the after party right now. This is right now in Singapore. You know where I would be, Rob. Yo. Dude, that's
what was
hilarious.
that?
I don't know. This is Mando. Went to Korea and all I have to show is this autistic video of me on a hike.
Then love a great deal of like a massive amount of thinking.
Korea was awesome. Seoul is S tier city.
Gone into sex without purpose.
I don't have audio here. What is Elon talking
Dude,
about?
you gotta pull it
Or
up.
maybe I can.
Which is actually quite a silly action. In the
No, control doesn't have audio.
Sex is a silly action in the absence of procreation.
Why are you doing it? Because it makes
So why are you doing it?
That's
What is?
Sex.
It's pretty absurd.
The absence of procreation.
I'm Christina, and this is my friend Vicky.
Crypto Twitter when they cash out next year.
This is you finally getting a girlfriend?
I'd like to invite you both to come with me to Oviedo.
To come where?
Oviedo. Some
Okay.
Spanish shit. Leo, what's going on, brother?
What about, is there a long list of
Here we go. Kathy Wood podcast.
you believe in, or is it actually?
This looks like it's at her place.
It's really only a handful so far.
Oh, Kathy's the other one?
I'm gonna text our ARC peeps right now.
Coin now.
Yeah, Kathy, Tom Lee, Paolo.
These trades are public, so I can tell you our exposures are Bitcoin, Ether. We're finally able to get an acceptable, from a regulator's point of view, way to play
So bullish.
Ether, and we chose Bitmine immersion. And in the
So Kathy's aping Bitmine.
Is the third one, and we can talk about that as well in terms of its role.
Another bullish thing, Joseph Shalom on the podcast. You know, I asked him like, "Hey, your stock is currently trading at a discount to NAV. Like, what are you gonna do about that?" And he's like, "Oh, we got cash."
Into which
Oh, don't worry, we're straight.
So like the thing was that like when it was trading at a discount, they were gonna like sell the shares and then or excuse me, sell the spot, right? So they were gonna have to sell ETH to like rebuy the shares and like push it back up higher to equilibrium, but they didn't sell the ETH. They just used the cash to buy the shares to push it back up.
Zcash was $30 when this was dropped.
Man, you know, part of this has got to be that the partnership with Near.
Yes, dude. We're gonna get them on the show as well, by the way. Zcash pretty soon.
Yeah.
This is Barry Silbert, Big Week Barry.
Big Week Barry.
Super fascinating. Let's see where it all plays out. It's complicated to get your head around because it is very different to anything else. And I've always found that
nice. I got audio on control now.
Even though you've been dead wrong on Zcash so far. But
Dead wrong on Zcash. Raul Paul.
Well before the next 5 years and say, look how right I was.
Oh my gosh, this guy.
back on Twitter and say it's going to be a
Time
big
to
week.
stand up for a sec.
All right, good to see.
The only thing I preach is stop being so hedonistic, man. Literally just once you make it, once you get a bunch of money, do not waste your life being
Gainsey, you just smoke fucking cigs on stream all day. We love you, man.
obvious stuff. Go look at a fucking Charlie Kirk pod or something. Charlie Kirk had everything.
They got like XXS playing on the back of
The
this
short-term lead hats
or something.
move somewhere that
Guest
you
doesn't understand L2s, Miles.
If at any point
I think he does.
medicine,
Who?
Austin.
legitimately, everyone is over medicine.
Yeah, I think Austin understands L2s. He's saying that there's centralized L2s because they have a single sequencer, and then there's a distributed set of rollups. And if you have one rollup that wins, like if base has 95% of the market share, then 0.0 isn't really effective for rollups. But if you have a bunch of L2s that are doing well, then it is helpful to connect those L2s and make a more
like a distributed
consistent
set.
Ethereum.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go. Talking about income inequality.
Oh yeah, Yacht and I got super philosophical.
Right, and first of all, I'm a pro-capitalist, so that's not an indictment to say I'm against capitalism. It's the issue around when you accrue capital and you have it, then it doesn't get distributed. It compounds. I mean, in a very simple way, right? So if you are born with wealth and you just have an investment manager manage your wealth for you, frankly, you don't have to do much. You sit in it. And one of the reasons why is because the government and the politicians around the world have not been very judicious in their use of the money that is in the system. So we used to consider money, as in cash, as a store of value, right? And, you know, you see an example of that quasi-experience of a store of value. It's not truly store of value, but you look in Japan. So Japan, probably the master and the king of QE, has essentially engineered an economy in Japan.
Master and king of QE.
I love Yacht. He's so smart.
Yes, it's inflated to the rest of the world, but within Japan, the cost of everything is roughly the same. So you go to sort of, you know, and inflation just started, but really for longest of times, you could buy, you know, a soft drink. Like for those people who've been in Japan, you know,
Just centralized sequencer is wrong.
a village or something, and you buy a soft drink.
Yeah,
At the same price
I
as what
feel
you-
you, Miles. Look,
Now imagine-
there's always
So
nuance
in
in these
that environment,
conversations. It's
you
hard to
have
get
to
it done in
because
45 minutes.
it's by buying we're doing
But
a purchasing
I
power,
hear you.
even if the government on the back is subsidizing and doing other stuff, but at the end of the day, you as a person don't feel that. Therefore, even though salary increments are low and general income hasn't increased overall, everyone feels stable.
The USDM was in partnership with Athena, but it's not a USDE wrapper. It's USDTV, right?
It's actually anything. So like it'll start as USDTB. So like that's the flexibility we have, right? And the criticism you get is like, oh well, bro, you're just getting T-bill yields. What happens when they compress as like rates continue to get cut? On the back end, we can actually at a whim like switch it over to USDE whenever like rates get cut, and then like.
So we're
USDE
talking about
converts accordingly.
Mega East new
So our
stablecoin,
yield is actually can be dynamic on the back
which
end.
I'm super bullish on.
Or we
It's
can
going to actually give Mega East something to get revenue from to be able to use for their token, which no other L2 really has right now.
Flexibility in a downtrending market. They make up 13% of the population.
What up? It's Rollup. We're out here. Token 2049. Singapore. Check this out. What is that? What is that? What is that? I got one. Ledger Stacks Alpine. Check this out. We got 𝘠𝘪𝘵𝘠𝘠𝘠 here. What's up? What's up? I'm super excited to come to the Ledger Open October 23rd, 2025 in Paris. Yes, you heard it here first. Maybe not first, but we'll say it's the first.
Yeah, dude, Ledger's hosting an event in Paris. CoinW's a sex. Thanks, new type.
Side, the short thing is TLDR. The quants are cracked. We have a team who are just obsessed with getting users.
Titan is like a new
nook and cranny to understand, you know, why did
haven't they been in block builder?
Yeah,
for
but
a
I think
while?
they're a new. I think it's a different one. I think it's a new
all these
perp
assets and
stacks.
equities like on chain.
Okay.
So
many perp stacks, bro. It's hard to know.
Some secret sauce. The quants are quanting.
The quants are quanting.
To give
The quants are quanting. Gotta love that.
I think a part is crypto ultimately.
Channel 5 is pretty good.
Or are the banks going to? I think.
Dude.
Oh, did you see this? I saw this
responds to Tucker Carlson's claim that he's faking being gay. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I saw this.
You see the news recently, the Tucker Carlson statement. He's never agreed to interview, but I'm going to ask him like some very specific questions about gay sex and see if he can even answer.
He said that you are basically fake gay, and you've created this persona to appease the woke mob.
Tucker Carlson claims ButtiGieg isn't really gay. He was dating women just a few years ago. That's totally fake. He's not gay at all. Smart. So I said that on the air. People got all offended.
Yeah, I think Titan is a DEX aggregator.
In a weird way, I guess it's
but I think they're going to expand at perps.
I spent a good chunk of my life knowing that like being gay would be a career ender for me. I had two parts of my career when I was in my 20s. Public service and being interested in public office and being in the military, both of which could have ended because I was gay. And honestly, I don't like thinking about it now, but
Tucker Carlson, big Bitcoin guy.
Like,
is he?
Just like
huge, yeah.
And I would have done it.
Like you would have gone to conversion therapy.
I mean, if I thought it would have worked, the state of mind that I was in at a certain time in my life.
All right, dude.
He's crypto.
5 a.m.
This is cool. Securitize partnered with FG Nexus to natively tokenize its public shares on Ethereum.
Nice. Yeah, more tokenized stocks.
The first stock exchange opens in Amsterdam. 1884, Charles Dow creates the first stock index.
Sick video.
1971, the Nasdaq introduces electronically traded stocks. 1994, E-Trade pioneers online trading.
I remember that baby.
Mobile apps put
That
trading.
E-Trade baby.
2025, the first preferred equity to be tokenized on-chain.
Let's go.
Securitize. Tokenizing capital markets.
Dope video. Shout out to Securitize.
How can I get rich with Bitcoin without getting lucky? The best way to get rich today is gambling. YOLO. That's not the best way to get rich. It's the way to get lucky.
Oh, Mr. Shit with the hook.
We have to
Dude, I'm going to get Justin on that, man.
You have to make it
for your Arthur fund, we're
and if you just make it lucky
going to
one
hook the
time.
shit out of it.
Mark Moss, investor, entrepreneur, and leading Bitcoin commentator.
Who breaks down finance on YouTube, podcasts, and social media.
So this intro is what we're going to put on all your videos that are high caliber.
Arthur and I were, I guess maybe it was just a few times, but we were cursing on that one. We've been cursing today too. We got to bleep those out or else YouTube is going to cut the views. No, for real. They're going to restrict it. It's not even them. They just shadow ban it. The algorithm picks it up and they put it behind a wall. So it's not safe for children.
We already have it marked as not safe for children.
But I think it's more than that. It's more than like just that tick.
Children in a candy shop. It was just
no, I hear you.
Times. You know, the whole book of Liar's Poker talked about First Boston and Sullivan.
We should just generally not
the competitive edges that we had between each other.
Yeah, but sometimes guesses.
We were making so much money,
we
but
should
we
just be
had
cognizant
really
of it.
inadequate risk controls. We had inadequate knowledge of how we were, the risk we were taking.
This is BlackRock CEO details how he lost 100 mil, got fired, then built the greatest investment company in the world.
For making too much money because the amount of risk we were taking to make that type of money was probably not a great risk reward. But because there was no risk analytics, so the firm actually gave me more capital to put more money to work. And then obviously in 1986, the second quarter after a record first quarter, we lost $100 million, and then the firm woke up to the amount of risk we were taking. Today, $100 million is not
Yeah,
that
you
big.
really lose $100 million. That's what
That
happens.
was a lot of money.
Wake up to the risk.
All right, Leo, I think we're all good here. Let's throw us back on. It's been a good stream. We wanted to just keep this one nice and tight today. Rob, welcome back. I think that's it. I don't have much else for anyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We should have a couple more guests tomorrow, and then be back to full swing Monday. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Peace out.